We got to start all the way over. We got to say
it
the
was
same
so
stuff
good
over
though.
again. We're blaming Rick right away.
Oh,
I'm taking the sword on that one.
This is unbelievable.
That was a good start. It's not going to be the same.
well, it'd be funny because
It's not your first
Now
time.
we are. Now we've all
No,
heard
it's
this
not my
before.
first time.
Retaken.
Well, you got to forget your anniversary. That was good. The AI over.
You get a second chance.
how many? I got to do the math.
Well, actually, we'll just say that's why we had to restart.
Troy.
I think it'll be 18 years now, September.
Okay.
So you were right. You had it right. That's
Yeah.
good.
What did I say? 17?
Yeah.
Welcome, Slightly Serious Sign Podcast, episode 23. We already did this whole episode, the entire episode.
Not quite.
Rick
but
screwed
close.
it up. So go ahead and might as well start it anyways.
Episode 23, Slightly Serious Sign Podcast.
Take two.
Take two. This one's voted number one by Nakusa. Usually we do the person that's here, but Nakusa sent us these sweet Yeti mugs, and we told him we'd shout them out. So,
And it
shout out
says
to
safety
Nakusa,
first.
so we know that they're listening to the podcast. So appreciate you guys. I think we'll see you guys tomorrow or maybe the next day. I can't remember.
Why didn't we do it? We could have did a podcast with them.
They said they couldn't do it.
I mean, we've already
They're-
done one with these guys. Now we're going to do another
They're
one.
scared. Yeah.
We just did it 3
Damon
minutes
said
ago.
he'd never done a podcast before, so now
2 in a row.
Now he's done one, so he's a professional now.
Okay, here we go.
That's all it takes is one. So, anyways,
Working on our influencer game.
we're trying to get the I don't know what it says on the badge. I just know I saw one when we were there. Influencer on the ISA badge. So that's our goal. That's the whole reason we're doing this podcast.
We're gonna
is just to get that.
We're going to get you there.
If I get one, I'll put in a request so you can have one too for being on the
Absolutely.
podcast. So joining us is Geneva Capital. We're talking about specifically what does financing look like in 2024. So if you're looking for equipment or potentially looking for equipment or thinking you don't want to look for equipment because of where the rates are at, hopefully this episode is for you. We already went through it, so I already know ahead of time that it's for you because it was great the first time. So as long as we don't mess it up the second time and Rick hits the record button again, he's got on hold. I can see it from here.
Rick,
so
we good?
We should,
Are we
live?
recording this time? Okay.
We're gonna do it after I do every question. Just quick double check. Rick, are we live? So once again, thanks for coming out, guys. We're gonna go through who are you, how long you've been in the industry, and what's your current role at Geneva Capital, and do you have any family, that kind of stuff. So we'll start with Troy.
All right. Troy Putnam. I've been with Geneva Capital for, coming up on 19 years already. It's crazy how time flies, right? I am currently our sales director and marketing director. So it's a good time. Live in Alexandria, Minnesota. I've been married for 17 years.
We'll just say take one. He got it wrong.
I did.
So if his wife's listening,
We told him we were gonna AI voice over the years.
I did. She'll forgive.
That's the reason why we're redoing this podcast, to be honest.
the
whole reason.
We didn't want him in trouble at home.
That's right. And then I got two boys, twin boys that are 14 that keep us running and keep us busy. Coach baseball, football, and hockey with them. So they keep me running around.
Damon Sincata here. Been with Geneva since 2020. Prior to that, I was with the company called the MBM shows. They're now the Graphics Pro Expo. So I started with them in 2011 through 2020. Obviously, we know how trade shows took a hit during COVID. So when there was no trade shows, had a very good relationship with Troy and the Geneva team. Always was, prior to the last 2 years, about 2018, I started looking to get into the finance side of the industry. I knew I wanted to stay in it, and it just all worked out. Reach out to Troy. They brought me in for an interview, and I started in, I believe it was November of 2020. So going on 4 years.
Did you need him or did you feel sorry for him?
A little of both. Is that okay to say?
I was like, oh, he ain't working right now. He ain't got nothing to do. We better do something with him. We don't want him to starve to death.
The best decision that Troy made.
Yeah, you're still here.
Still here.
Still
I say the same thing.
Best hire ever.
I'm the best decision Judy ever made, this company, without a doubt.
Still here.
He's also humble. It's one of his character traits.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a very humble person.
That's why we get along well.
Yeah, exactly.
And we talked in take one, but we're going to actually meet up in Denver in middle of next month.
Yeah.
So the 21st.
July 20th or the 21st.
Yeah.
We're gonna tear the town up.
Yeah, for sure.
You're doing some hiking? Is that what you're going to do?
I'm going hiking every year. I take a group or take a bunch of people to Wind River Indian Reservation, where I think it costs $5 to trespass and like $75 to fish on their property. But it's a place where you go where the only way to get there is with your stuff on your back, and it's a stress trip. So it's like, I always tell people it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. And then when they're done, they're like, yes, it's the hardest thing I'll ever do. I'm never doing it again. And then the following year, they're calling you. Hey, can I take my dad this time? Can I do this? So
Is it like an Aaron Rodgers retreat?
what's Aaron Rodgers?
No, it's not in like 100% darkness for 7 days.
Oh, no, it's not that.
On the psychedelics and
Yeah, we're
everything
not
like
looking
that?
for like the,
okay.
But it
the
is
guy
tough.
in the
It
hat
is.
or something, whatever the heck they've been saying for, I don't know what's going on.
You walk uphill for like a day and a half straight before you get to base camp, and with everything you can carry on your back. So but you get out there. I mean, literally nobody's out there. It's beautiful. Fish all the lakes, and you fish lakes. I mean, you might fish a lake that maybe 3 people a year fish for trout.
Nice.
So it's nice, but it's tough.
It's not fishing. It's just catching.
How many times
catching.
have you done this, Mike?
I've done it minimum once a year, a lot of times twice a year since I think 2008. So you ain't getting me lost out there. That's for sure.
No.
I pretty much know every rock.
He's got them all named too. Yeah.
Yeah, we name every lake.
Then it does look like an Aaron Rodgers
Rodgers
tree.
tree.
Yeah, this is Billy. He's lost his mind. I don't know what's going on here.
What's this guy on?
That's what they think when he starts running. As soon as they get out there, what's wrong with this guy? But yeah, thanks for coming, guys. Doing the intro twice was 2 times as good
This
as
one
doing
might
it
have
one
been
time.
better.
Yeah, it's arguable.
I mean, at least Troy got his anniversary right. So
Right.
That's true.
we're good
We're
there.
safe.
Yeah, I didn't have to do a voiceover, although it would have been funnier to do the voiceover when we just corrected you.
We might still do the voiceover like you said it wrong.
Yeah, we're gonna put in the wrong one. On the video, you're gonna see him say 17, and then the audio is gonna say 18. He said it's close to 18 though, so we'll have to pick a different one.
Yeah.
We'll say like 12, so he's way off. That's
Actually,
way better.
There we go.
Not even close.
Don't get me in trouble. That's why we did take 2.
We'll send a letter in the mail that just apologizes in advance. Thanks for coming out, guys. We appreciate it. We started the first take kind of talking about rates. So I guess I'll say if someone's looking at equipment or potentially looking at equipment in the future and they've kind of been holding off just with what the climate is right now, where the rates are or whatever, what are some reasons they should look at financing now versus kind of waiting until later in the year or waiting until next year or waiting until rates drop or whatever they're waiting for at the moment?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, if you're contemplating an equipment purchase today, you're probably contemplating that for a couple of reasons. One, primarily, is you're probably either looking to replace some equipment that you have, or you're looking to add some new equipment or to add to your production, right? And so if those are the things, if those are the reasons why you're looking at equipment today, there really shouldn't be any reason to hold off. You know, if that equipment's a revenue generating asset, which in this case it always is, there really shouldn't be any hesitation to wait today. And I say that simply because rates in the next 6 months probably aren't going to go down. And even if they do go down, we're talking a 1/4 point. Sorry, I'm banging the table again. I thought I learned that from the first go around.
Yeah, sorry. If you're
Third
just on
podcast, you're
audio and you heard this, that was him as he's talking. He's banging the table to emphasize his points.
Yeah. So, but as I was saying, I don't think rates are going to really go down that much here in the next 6 months. And again, if they do go down, we're talking 25 basis points, so a 1/4 point. And really, in the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at a $50,000 piece of equipment over 5 years, that really means $5 a month.
Yeah, it's going to increase your payment.
It
or
just
it's going to
isn't.
lower your payment $5 a month.
It just isn't worth.
You know,
waiting.
$5 a month. Well, it doesn't get you anything anymore.
Apparently,
It can't even get you 2 monsters anymore, barely.
apparently, you're going to be able to get a McDonald's meal for $5 here pretty soon. So they
They're
just
coming back
announced
out with a $5
it.
meal.
So, I mean, it's probably going to be 1 chicken nugget and 2 fries, but you'll be able to get something for $5. So
Not much.
yeah, but
No.
we're kind of just going over that to say like there's not a whole lot's going to change, right? So if you're in the place where you're thinking about equipment, the time frame that you would have to wait for any significant drop is going to be so long that you're going to need the equipment before then anyways.
yeah.
So,
Can you refinance equipment like you can your house?
Not necessarily, but one thing that you can do is you can kind of say we got a customer that's in a 5-year term, right? And they're 4 years into it and they're looking to purchase a new piece of equipment, we would look at rolling what the remaining balance is, and roll it into a new piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Is that how you would?
Okay, I understand that.
Yeah. The reason why you don't typically refinance a piece of equipment is because you're not talking a 20 or 30 year
Yeah.
here
Right.
as you
Yes.
are in a mortgage. So, it doesn't necessarily make
More
sense.
like a car payment.
Correct.
I think that's a good point to talk about too. So when we were talking about it and you're talking about refinancing over the course of 5 years, like we'll put an optimistic number out there. What would you expect if everything went perfectly smooth? How much do you think we're going to see a rate drop in?
Are you talking like in the next 6 months?
Yeah, say like 12 months. We'll give it even longer. My point of saying this is it's not going to be much, right?
Right.
Like best case scenario, we're going to expect maybe a point over the next 12 months, maybe.
And I think a lot's look, we're in an election year, right? I
don't
think
know what's
there's
gonna happen.
There's a lot of uncertainty coming up here in the next few months.
Yeah. I just say that to say like, if your whole goal here is like, hey, let's wait for it to drop.
It's not going to drop that much.
It's not. And if it does, it's not going to be significant, which is what you're talking about with refinancing, right? Like even over the course of a 5-year loan, the cost of actually going through a refinance, not like a house, is going to be not big enough to make sense to refinance equipment. So
now I would say if you're looking at it over the next 5 years, we're in a state of normalization, right? Rates just aren't going to move that much.
yeah.
And I feel like customers still think it's going to get back down to that 2,
That's-
3,
yes.
4%, and that's just not what's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, that's 100% why I wanted to bring it up, is because we're talking with customers that are like, yeah, it's way up there. We're going to wait until it gets, and you're like, it's just, we're not going to see it.
Yeah, they're probably going to die before it gets down there again.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
It's going to be,
it's possible. Like it was astronomically low, which is, I'm sure, a problem you guys have been running into, right? Where people are like, yeah, the last one I was, it was 0.25% to finance my equipment. Like, right. It was just an insane time. So I just say that to like really harp on, like, if that's what you're waiting for, like you're not going to be financing anything anytime soon.
And if you talk to somebody and they're so shocked that it's at 8.5% and they thought it was at 4, man, where you been sleeping the last year and a half?
Hey, listen, when you first said 8, I'm like, 8? So I'm one of those guys where I don't really finance. I don't really finance anything, and I don't really pay attention to it. Like, I knew these guys because two of my boys just bought houses, so I kind of knew that it was like, hey, it's a higher rate. But if they wouldn't have bought houses, I would have
no idea.
I would have no idea.
Where are they at? About 7-8 on a 30-year fix these days? Is
right
that
in there.
roughly? Yep, 7-8.
Yeah, and that's all within the last 12 months. Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
would think, that's an appreciating asset, right? That's going to appreciate over time, where we're talking about equipment that's depreciating. So 8.5 is really, in the grand scheme of things, not that bad.
Yeah, it's good. So talk about,
but I'm at 2.25, so 8 sounds terrible
yeah.
And when was that?
On your mortgage.
on my mortgage.
Yeah. We're not talking
So
equipment.
not quit.
He doesn't
Not,
have-
yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any depreciating equipment.
I have no depreciating
He
equipment.
just has tools that you can just borrow and never return from his house.
Yeah, we can talk about that right now. I just had to call my youngest son and borrow my chainsaw.
He had to borrow his tools
I
back.
had to borrow my tools back. And I just went to his house and mowed his lawn with my lawnmower.
That was at his house.
Yeah, that was at his house already.
Sounds like he's got it made.
Yeah. It's a
I
great.
think that's the traditional dad-son
Yeah,
relationship.
you wait. Your kids are only 14.
Yep.
When they both get houses, you're going to realize now you have 3 houses. And all your stuff's going to be all your stuff's going to be split between the 3 houses, not just at your house. And you're not going to know who has it. You have to make some calls. Hey, who has my Sawzall?
Yeah. It's like a scavenger hunt.
And they're
Every
like,
time
oh, I
you
think
need
Tater
something.
has it. Oh, I think Tristan has it. Oh, nope, Tyler has it.
Boy, maybe you could put one of those little Apple tags on your equipment so you could track it.
I'm thinking there's some things I keep threatening I'm going to lock everything up in the garage. I'm going to get one of those chains like they have like the liquor cabinets and just start locking my tools up.
At least do us the courtesy and get them like the Amazon drop boxes, right? So be like, yes, if you need the DeWalt drill, it's in lockbox 21. It'll be unlocked for the next 4 minutes, and then we go and take it. That's what I need. I don't need access to everything, just like one thing at a time. Really, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's coming. Don't worry, it's coming.
So, talking about rates, we talked about when we go to finance currently and people ask like, hey, do you guys finance equipment? We always say like, yeah, we do everything. We don't do it personally. We do all of our stuff through Geneva Capital, use them. So we obviously know why we send people to you guys and not more like a traditional bank or a traditional financing company. But what do you guys think I guess, is your like differentiator why someone should go to you versus going to a traditional bank down the road?
A couple things. I think obviously a local bank or a traditional bank, if you have a decent relationship there, is always a good option, right? But I think really what sets us apart, and it's not a ton. We are a direct lender, which means that we operate very much like your local bank. We're not a depositor. So with that thought in mind, is we also are a very niche-based company where we specialize in certain markets. Sign and printing industry is one of them. So we understand the equipment, we understand the viability and the need for the end user to have that equipment. We mentioned earlier, it's a revenue generating asset, right? So we get that. Whereas that local bank might not know necessarily, hey, I'm looking to buy this printer, it's going to be 30 grand. The banker might just be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Regardless of our relationship, we're going to need 20% down. That's where we can kind of step in because we know that equipment. We can turn around that transaction very quickly, and we're going to do 100% financing because we know that asset. Should the perceived risk of the credit allow us to do that. So that's really the key difference. And the beauty of using us versus their local bank, now it allows them to keep open that line of credit with their bank. Maybe they have something different that they want to look at later on down the road, piece of equipment or building enhancement. Maybe they got to knock down a wall or add on. So that's typically where you'd want to go to your local bank and use those funds there.
And another thing we touched base on the first try here for the podcast is that we're going to talk to your entire customer base, right? As Troy said, local bank, if you got a relationships, a good option to go check out, but they're just going to work with that A and B paper, right? With strong, established businesses.
What's A and B paper?
Top tier credit, right? Probably 700, 715 plus, right? With over 3 years in business. Geneva Capital, obviously, since, we have the working relationship, we understand the equipment. We're going to look at some of the more challenging, say, credit profiles, and we welcome startup companies, which, is 2 years and less, which a lot of local banks, they're really not going to touch.
Okay. So next week when I quit my job and none of my competitors hire me, one of you should though, but anyways, and I want to start up a sign shop. I want to buy a rolling cutter and a laminator. Whose credit do you use? Because obviously I'm a startup shop. Whose credit? Like how do you vet me?
What does that look like?
What does it look like? Yep. Like if I don't have a lot of, like say I don't have enough cash to cover that.
Yep.
And I obviously don't have income because I just quit my job. It's not supposed to hit the table.
We're banging.
So anyways,
sorry to interrupt the podcast, but we want to have a special episode for episode 25, and we want to do Q&A. So if you have questions, send them to podcast@wensco.com. If you send them to that email, I'll get them. We'll go through them on the air. If it's anybody that's been on the podcast, any of my brothers, anyone you've seen, Domingo, Mike, anybody like that, welcome to send them in. If it's to somebody you even haven't seen on the podcast yet, but you have questions for them, we'll bring them on to answer your questions. So send them in. Again, podcast@wensco.com. You can also send them out on socials, or if you know if it's anywhere, if you have our phone numbers, emails, send them. I don't care where you send them as long as I get to me, and we'll be happy to answer them live, potentially live, on episode 25. So send in your questions. Again, podcast@wensco.com. And now we'll get back to the episode.
Whose credit score do you use? How do you work that deal?
In a case like that, if it's a startup entity, a lot of the times, it's probably either a single member LLC, or maybe there's two, or maybe it's just going to be a sole proprietorship. In any of those situations, we try to make that process as simple as possible. Meaning, from an application standpoint, we'd be looking at the personal credit of the new business owner. So whether that's a husband-wife combo, or maybe it's a two-partner LLC, or maybe it's just a single-member LLC, we're just going to look at the personal credit of that guarantor, and that's what they would use to make the credit decision off of. We're not looking for a bunch of other information, tax returns, personal financial statement, anything like that. It would just be the application. And then, of course, 2 to 3 months of bank statements. Obviously, we want to kind of find out what type of cash flow that they have available to them, because it's important for us as a startup entity to make sure that, they can turn the lights on and open the doors in 30 days, but I don't want them shutting it off in 60 days either. So
and you probably find that, I would assume this is true, most people that have paid their bills before, even though they're switching careers, they're going to pay their bills after too. I would imagine that's probably a trend across the whole thing. Like
Yep.
if you weren't paying your bills when you had a job and now you're going to start up a new job, you're probably still not going to pay your bills, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think how that works on your guys' end, it seems like, is the bank's going to view that equipment, like we were talking earlier, like equipment is a depreciating asset, right? Regardless how you look at it, right? If you buy it today, 5 years from now, it's worth significantly less than it is today, right?
Correct.
But you guys are viewing it as I don't know the right word for it, but like a profitable depreciating asset, right? Meaning you're buying something that with the intent that it's going to make you money, which makes your end of financing easier, right? Because you're not looking at it. The bank's going to say, hey, this is a depreciating asset, right? 20% down, like you said, and then whatever the normal rate is. Versus you guys are looking at it as, okay, as long as you have the ability to pay for this, we know it will make money. So we're a little more willing to work with you on it than maybe a bank would be.
Yep, I'd say that's accurate. Obviously, we'd like to be as flexible and as easy to do business with as we can. So, and our goal is we want to help, small businesses grow. And whether that's a company that's been around for 20 years and is an A-type credit, or, it simply could be a brand new startup. One of my favorite success stories being in this business is helping a small business start from nothing and then getting 2, 3, 4, 5 deals, over the next, 15 years. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why, I think as a society, that's the success stories you look for.
Yeah, and you keep saying A credit. What's the percentage of people that actually come to you that are A, B versus like this nowadays and age? And has it changed over the last couple of years?
I don't think it's changed necessarily. I think if you look at your A and B type credit and you kind of lump them together in one bucket, that's still a good majority or a good portion of the people that are looking to finance equipment today. So, you're probably looking 65 to 70%, something like that.
I just know we financed a van a year ago or so, and the lady's like, "Whoa, you guys!" And we're not people that even like pay attention to our credit. Like we've always paid our bills, but like she's like, "Whoa, you guys have really good credit." And I was like, "Don't." And to me, I'm like, don't normal? Most people just pay their bills? Like, how do you not have good credit?
Well,
like,
I think she probably was shocked by that because in the last year to year and a half, I mean, we have seen a drop in
people's credit scores,
credit scores, higher revolving debt, some delinquency. So I'm sure a lot of the industries are seeing that.
Yeah. It's been a weird, 12, 24 months. That's what we were talking about before we got on here. So, we talked, this feels like an ad now at this point because I already know the answer to it.
Can I interrupt for just a second? I'm curious about credit score. You probably know more than I do. Is it not just you pay your bills? There's more involved, right? What is it? I mean, you guys got to know some of what it is.
Well,
how embarrassing.
If you look at the scoring model between whether it's Equifax or Experian, they're going to score things differently depending on what model they're using. So for us, and that's really all I can speak to, we can see the FICO score from an Experian or an Equifax, right? But there's other factors that go in. Again, we talked about, what's their cash flow look like with regards to their bank statements. That's an important factor. Another important factor that's not going to show up on a credit report is going to be their time in business. There's a difference between someone who's been in business for 3 years versus someone who's been in business for 20 years. And so regardless of FICO, that still is a good credit factor to look at. So there's just different things. But for the most part, do you pay your bills? What's your credit card debt look like in terms of credit card utilization? So if you've got $50,000 of available credit on credit cards and your balance is zero, that's a good thing, right? That's going to help your credit score versus having $50,000 limit of credit card debt and actually having it maxed out, right? So that's a risk.
So does it help you having more credit cards or no?
I would say having credit cards isn't a bad thing as long as you manage your balances.
Well, I'm looking
at
it
this comes back to as long as you pay them.
Like mine are at zero, but I have one I think is $20,000 limit, one that's a $30,000 limit. Yep. Does it help to have one more? Like I don't need the credit, but like, or is is there a limit where that's just enough? Yeah, because I could probably have 400,000 if I wanted to.
I feel like and I could be wrong. I feel like everyone tells you should have 3 credit cards. I don't have 3 credit cards. I have 2. and I think my credit score is good. So
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't need to.
I think I only have 2.
And obviously, you said your credit score is.
Yeah, it was like
Great.
whatever it was.
I have a feeling you're doing just fine.
I'm doing just fine, but it's one of those things I never think of. Like you just, and
I don't know what the right answer is.
and you're always assuming everybody's doing what you're doing, right? Like a bill comes in, you owe it, you pay it.
Yeah.
And come to find out, that's not true.
That's not what's happening.
And same thing. Like I mean, when we were younger, yeah, we built up credit cards because you didn't have the money, but there's things you thought you needed. But in the last 15 years, no. And
No, but I think that's kind of the important thing too, is knowing that not everyone's going to have top tier credit, is that we can come to the table and give a solution for that, right? I think it's important that we're sensitive that not everyone's going to have bad credit, right? I mean, they might come into an issue where they had, some type of medical challenge in the family. And so those are all things that, our underwriting team gets on the phone and has that discussion with, that end user to kind of find out what were the extenuating circumstances behind it. So we try to dig in a little bit and try to help folks out where we can.
Yeah, we've seen it on our end where people have, come to us after they've kind of run out of options, right? They're like, hey, we're really looking, and, we've been declined, 1, 2 times. We're like, have you tried Geneva? Like, let's at least give it a shot. And a lot of times I think in their mind, but this is kind of where you're going with it too, is in their mind, they're thinking like, as soon as I get denied one time, like there's nobody, one person denied me, so nobody will finance me. And I don't think that's the case with.
That's not the case at all. I mean, you'd be surprised how many customers come to Geneva after being declined elsewhere. And we, like Troy said, we just have the conversation with the customer. I think what a lot of companies do, and I could be wrong on this, but they'll submit the application, the customer would be declined, and they just stop there. They just shoot a quick email, you've been declined, thanks for trying, move on. With Geneva, there's been many times where if you just get the customer on the phone and just dig in a little more, hey, maybe they got a spouse that's a doctor making $300,000. Okay, well, that changes the ball game a little bit. Are you good with adding your spouse to this application? Absolutely. Well, we're good. We'll make it happen. We might ask for a little bit of money down, but we'll get it approved. So it's just like Troy mentioned, it's just kind of talking to the customer, walking through the process, and just, digging in a little bit more. So
I said that this feels like an ad now because I already know how you're going to answer the question, but we're talking about rates earlier. You're talking about helping like these small businesses get approved, right? So what are some like current programs you're working on in terms of rates or in terms of just helping people get started with their equipment?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously Q2, which is kind of crazy thinking about, it's coming to an end here in a few days. So we're getting ready to release our Q3 promo. So that's one way to help customers, get into their machine, keep their payments down. Our Q3 promo, we're actually going to give the customer the option, which is either going to be no payments for 90 days or half payments for 6 months. So it takes them out to the rest of the year. That way they get the machine, start generating some revenue, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, and then, we'll kick their full payments in.
That's what I'm going to do. When I quit my job next week,
solution for you.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
I'll have 90 days to make enough money to pay the first payment. I'm kind of lazy.
I got my fingers crossed for you.
I just need one wrap job.
Well, it's going to be hard to do on your BN220, but you'll figure it out.
I mean, it'll be tough. And then hopefully with it, they won't return it. Like it'll still be hot. They probably won't return it until it's cold and start shrink back up. It's all calendared. So I'll at least get some money to make the payments before they return it in the car.
That's great.
In terms of that, we're making a joke about the BN220, right? Entry level roll-in equipment. Like what is there like a minimum in terms of financing that you guys look at, or
typically it's 5,000. Now, we have a super strong relationship like we do with you. You want us to take a look at something maybe that's 4,000, 3,500. We'll take a look at it. It just most of the time doesn't make sense for the customer to even finance that.
Okay.
I can't imagine being in business and having to finance 3,500. Hope I don't offend anybody, but
I feel like most the underwriting decisions are 80% declines on that.
Yeah, I would.
When it comes in under that,
I would automatically decline. I think just because like you should have you shouldn't need that little amount of money. You should either need more because you can buy something better or have that money.
Yeah. On those smaller purchases, those short-term solutions are usually the best. That's usually where a credit card best comes into play, is on something like that.
Yeah. You can get some of the card. Well, maybe not now, but certain times you can get interest free for 12 months. It's probably a better option.
The problem is they might not even be able to get that.
Yeah, that's true too, right? Yeah, you're going to run to that for sure.
I actually just saw that on the credit card because I just started paying attention to this, where you can click on that little button and I could get terms on just that one purchase.
Yeah, it's like, super weird now.
Number one, they know that it's going to pay anyways, but
but typically 5,000.
Okay. Can you talk about kind of, if we're looking at, let's say that purchase, right? $5,000. Say you're a real small business, you're just getting started. You're like, I'm going to look at financing. I have the money, but maybe I don't want to spend that all right now. What are some reasons why someone should finance it versus just spending the cash and kind of paying for it outright?
It again always just comes back to the situation for that particular end user. If you can part with, 5, 10, 15, 20 grand and you're not going to feel it tomorrow, then you may as well pay cash. If, again, you think that you're going to want to use those funds down the road for something different, then again, Geneva Capital, we can offer some type of solution that might make sense. Maybe it's, I'm going to finance that $5,000, but I'm just going to do it for 12 months, right? So you keep it nice and short. Total payback's going to be pretty minimal. They save their cash and they can use those funds for a different purchase, or, again, put it somewhere else so that it's actually going to make them some type of interest on their side. So,
yeah, I think going back to the first round we did this, you brought up a good point, Troy, on a higher cost of equipment. Like if we're talking, say, $100 grand, maybe that customer does have the funds to pay cash, but they don't really want to spend that right now, right? I think you mentioned, we've been in situations this year where a customer will, let me put 25,000 down, take the rest of my funds, and they'll throw it in a CD and collect some interest on that, because I think CDs right now are 5% plus.
Yeah,
I look at it even this, we bought the van. Can you pay for the van? Yes, we can pay for the van, but are there other things we want to do? Yes, and we don't even know exactly what we wanted to do, but you didn't want to tie all your money up, because financing a car is easier than financing a kitchen remodel. So we're like, well, let's keep the money in case we want to remodel the kitchen, in case you want to remodel the bathroom, in case you have something else going on. So it's one of those things where it's easier to finance certain things over, like, to get a finance to knock a wall down to expand your building is going to be harder than getting financing on a piece of machinery that's going to make you money. Yep. So that's one of the decisions I think people have to make, is like, finance the stuff you can finance if you plan on doing other things.
For sure.
And there's other reasons too why they might finance versus, and that it might just be a tax consideration,
benefit,
right?
Yeah.
So, that's the other question I had.
For example, we've got the ability where we can actually write, a true tax lease for them, and the customer may have the ability to expense and deduct their monthly payments, over the course of that term. So it's a nice line item expense for them. Shelters their net taxable income at the end of the year, which is always a good solution. Or maybe they're getting towards the end of the year and they know they're having a really, really solid year, and they're going to need a big write-off, all in 2024. So now they could take, section code 179 and deduct and write off the entire purchase this year without tying up their cash to do so. So
why wouldn't you always do that then?
What's that, section 179?
Yeah.
Well, you could be not making any money.
You can't use it to really. So section 179, you're not
write off profit.
You got to write off profit. You're not using that to show a loss.
All right.
I don't think that's how it works.
All right.
But you could also,
don't be starting your own business there, Mike.
Apparently, I'm not quitting.
Yeah, you should.
I was going to be a complete
You just
fail.
gotta don't quit your day job lesson there really fast. So I appreciate it was full circle.
Yeah.
Can we cut that out?
Nope.
That was a stupid question.
That's the intro.
Didn't you listen to your teachers? There are no stupid questions.
Yeah, apparently
Back
there's
in the
not.
day.
Oh, they were lying though.
Yeah, well, they all do.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask a stupid question, I'm going to answer just how you guys just did to me.
No, but Mike kind of brings up a point. With section code 179, why wouldn't you use that? Well, I think most businesses that are having good years will take advantage of that each year. Yeah. So you'll start seeing it here in August and September, particularly, where you're going to start hearing from customers saying, "Hey, I need to spend some money." And so they can take advantage of that section code 179, whether it's financing through Geneva, their bank, or even if they wrote a cash check. Yeah. So it's a good solution for them.
Yeah, Q4 is always a busy time, mainly because of, everyone's starting to talk to their CPAs and looking at, their CPAs coming back saying, you might want to look at a purchase.
Yeah.
To take advantage
if your CPA tells you that you need to spend money in December, call Wensco.
Spend it.
Just call our lane or just send us an email, whatever you need to do, right? Well, the one thing we know how to do is help you spend money, okay? We're real good at it. So if you need us, and we'll send it over to Geneva too.
We'll help you finance it.
So my new business, if I start making a lot of money, I really want to think about better check with my accountant come December.
Come November, December.
I'm probably not going to make that much money though.
Probably not.
So we're
not
going
as
to
a startup.
So we're going to get you in that true tax list.
Oh, you never know. I could.
Well, every time you have to rewrap a vehicle because it comes back failed, you don't make any more money the second or the third time.
Listen, I could put LEDs in a sign too.
You could. You know how to use duct tape.
I know how to use duct tape. Duct tape, zip ties.
Elmer's glue.
Yep.
He's like, yep. We'll make it happen.
And I have a ladder.
You put on top of your van.
Whatever. Oh wait, I don't even have a vehicle. All my vehicles are company vehicles. I'm going to have to walk everywhere I go. I didn't think about that either.
I don't think he's prepared.
Not.
He's gonna need a large Geneva Capital loan to get started.
Yeah. We're gonna be repoing stuff real quick.
We got a van that says Mike Sign Supply showing up here for repo in a few weeks. We'll know that something went wrong. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any other questions. I think we probably covered more stuff in episode 1. So the question is, did I actually cover everything we wanted to talk about? But we appreciate you guys doing 2 full episodes.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate the partnership that we've had for a long time.
Yeah, it's been.
Thanks for having us on. Kind of disappointed it took 23 episodes to get us here, but maybe we'll be back sooner than later.
Well, like I said, the benefit is we did title it Financing in 2024. So we'll have you back in 2025.
For sure.
Right.
When it's maybe hopefully slightly different than it is now. If not, we're just going through the same questions. We'll see. But so again, I think I didn't say disclaimer in the last one. Disclaimer, if you're listening to this in the future, right? Anything we just covered was different. The promotion you mentioned is Q3 2024. So if you're listening to this in November or December or even January 2025, it's different. But always reach out, right? We'll be happy to point you in the right direction. The only question I have left for you guys, we kind of covered a lot of this, but just to kind of wrap it up is, what do you think sets Geneva Capital apart from its competition in the market?
I think it goes back to just the way that we do business, right? Again, we're trying to make this as simple as we possibly can, but speed and service.
Yeah, I was going to say customer service.
Yeah.
We truly care about our relationships, not only with, Wensco and our other vendor partners, but the customers. We want to help them grow, because we know if they have a good experience with Geneva, or even Wensco, right, they're going to come back, buy equipment from you and turn around and want to finance it through Geneva. So I think that's what really separates us apart.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of customers do, multiple deals through Geneva. Like, I think maybe it was the first episode. I don't know at this point which one I said it in, but we've had customers where we don't have to do the intro, right? We're just we're sending them out the quote and they're like, okay, I'm going to get this over to Geneva. You're like, oh, sweet, perfect. Because you guys already dealt with them. So it makes it easy for us. And like you guys said, makes it easier for you to do multiple deals when one already went well. It makes it easier to do the second one, right?
Yep.
So it's easier all across the board for everyone. So, well, that's sweet. Once again, thanks for coming out, guys. We appreciate it. Luckily we got done before you actually have to go out there and talk to the rest of the sales reps. So.
We apologize. We had to do this twice. Rick's going to buy us something tomorrow. Cake.
Rick's getting good on this. Did we
recorded this one, Rick?
We were supposed to ask. We're still recording. Are all the cameras on? Are we good?
Yeah, who knows?
Rick's over there sleeping, man.
He's thumbs up.
Hey, at this point though, we should have enough. We can piece together the 2 episodes to make 1 episode.
We got something good.
Slightly AI voiceover somewhere in the middle there, and it'll be fine. Nobody will notice the difference. It'll all be fine. So, episode 23. Thanks for listening, guys. Once again, appreciate you guys coming out.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.